I didn't know any photojournalists growing up. It wasn't like I sort of aspired to be a photographer until I actually was a photographer, and I realized that I can tell stories with pictures, I can educate people, I can use my camera as an excuse to access people. Those things suddenly became very exciting to me, and that's when I decided that this was what I wanted to do. Sometimes when I'm shooting, I'm tortured. Actually, mostly when I'm shooting, I'm tortured because I'm always trying to tell a story, but also to make a compelling image that will hold. Part of my creative process is sort of understanding the rhythm of a place and understanding the movements of a place and of a story. And so my answer to that is to try and be there when the light's beautiful, try and get a compelling composition, to try and create something different. I'm not the kind of person to be fully removed from something as I'm shooting it. I'm a very emotional, passionate person. So, for example, when I am in the field and I see something horrible, or if someone dies, or if I see a scene that is evocative, I cry. I'm not just sort of keep my distance and stay, catatonic. I'm not that kind of person. When I'm introduced to certain stories, like in Darfur in 2004, I met a woman, and she was one of the first women who had admitted to me to having been raped as a weapon of war, and half of her face was swollen. And I remember thinking, wow, this woman is so brave to talk about this. It is rape and sexual assault is something that is deeply personal, and it's also, most people don't feel comfortable admitting to it, much less on camera or for a journalist. And so that opened my world. I think when I first started out, I never really thought about my own personal safety. It was all about getting the picture. Now I'm almost 43 and I do have a family. I have a son and a husband. Every time something happens, like being kidnapped in Libya for a week or being kidnapped in Iraq for a day, I know that my parents are getting phone calls. My husband is getting a phone call saying, she's gone missing. I can deal with whatever trauma I choose to expose myself to because that's my decision. I put myself there voluntarily. But when I'm subjecting my family to that hardship, that's a whole different level. So why do I do this work? Is it worth it to sort of risk your life? Those are questions I ask myself often. People often ask me about making beautiful images in war, and I think at the end of the day, the goal for any photographer, photojournalist who covers conflict is to get people to care. And if I can get someone to sort of open a magazine and say, wow, what's happening there? That light's really beautiful, or the subject is really compelling, and start to ask questions, then I've done my job. So sure, there's controversy about beauty in war, but I don't care what people say about me or about the fact that I'm combining beauty and tragedy. That to me is completely uninteresting. What's interesting to me is getting people to care. One of the hardest things for me to accept or to reconcile is that sometimes a picture can make a difference and sometimes it just can't. I believe with my heart and soul that photography can change the world and can educate people and educate policymakers and do so much, but that's not always the case, and that's something that's hard for me to accept. Sometimes when I'm working, and particularly in war zones, and I am photographing people and listening to their stories, I just can't believe what human beings are capable of and the evil that human beings are capable of. And that's something that will never go away and will never cease to shock me. But I think I use that as a sort of inspiration for me to tell their stories.